I still remember the exact moment that I knew Jake was never going to let me breathe. It was freshman year, August 2018, and I had just moved into my dorm at State, 3 hours away from the tiny town where Jake and I had been glued together since junior year of high school. Everyone told us we were the perfect couple, quarterback and head cheerleader, prom king and queen, the whole corny package. I believed it too. I thought love was supposed to feel like that. Intense, all-consuming, a little suffocating. Well, turns out suffocating is exactly what it was. At first, the clinginess felt sweet. He'd text me good morning before I even opened my eyes, send me playlists, FaceTime me while I ate dining hall pizza. I'd laugh and tell my roommates, hey, he just misses me. It's cute. But by week 3, cute turned into something else. If I didn't answer within 15 minutes because I was in lecture or showering or, God forbid, talking to a guy in my bio lab, he'd blow my phone up. 10 texts. 20. Then the calls. Babe, where are you? Babe, answer me. Babe, I'm worried. I started keeping my phone on Do Not Disturb just so I could pee in peace. One Thursday night in October, my floor decided to throw a party in the lounge. My roommate Kayla took my phone because I kept leaving it at places when I danced. Jake had already texted me 8 times that night asking what I was doing, who I was with, when I was going to bed. I told Kayla if he texts again, just tell him I'm busy. Big mistake. At 1:17 a.m., my phone lit up like a slot machine. 25 unread messages. The last one just said, "Who's this?" Kayla, half drunk and fed up, grabbed my phone and typed, "Dude, she's busy. She'll text you when she's free." I didn't see it until the next morning. By then, my phone had 47 missed calls and a string of texts that made my stomach drop. Who the hell's holding her phone? Is someone with her? I swear to God if someone's touching her. I'm coming down there. I laughed at first. He's 3 hours away. He's not actually... Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I picked up. Hello? Ava, it's me. I'm outside your building. Let me in. I ran to the window. There was his car parked under the streetlight, hazards blinking. He was standing on the sidewalk in the same gray tee that he wore to every single one of our high school dates, looking up at my dorm like a lost dog. I threw on shoes and ran downstairs. Jake, what the hell are you doing here? Some guy texted me from your phone. I thought something happened to you. I drove all night. It was my roommate, you psycho! I was at a party! You didn't answer for hours, Ava. What was I supposed to think? That I'm 18 and in college? That maybe I don't need to check in every 5 seconds? He grabbed my hands. I love you. I can't lose you. Please don't do this here, not on the sidewalk. I yanked away. We're done checking in every 2 hours, Jake. I can't breathe. I need space. His face crumpled. Space? You mean you want to ride other people? Jesus Christ, no! I mean I want to live without a tracker on my ankle! And then he turned and ran. Not toward his car, toward the baseball fields behind the dorms. I stood there frozen for half a second, and then I sprinted after him. Jake! Jake, stop! He was already halfway up the backstop, the tall chain-link fence behind home plate that has to be 30 feet high. He climbed like a monkey, sneakers slipping, tears flying off his face. Jake, get down! No! He screamed from the top, legs dangling over the edge. If you don't want me, what's the point? Stop it! You're scaring me! Good, you should be scared. You're throwing us away! People were starting to come out from the dorms, phones up, filming. Someone yelled, "Call 911!" I was shaking so hard I could barely speak. Jake, please come down. We'll talk. Just come down. Promise me.
Promise me you'll give me another chance.
I swallowed bile. I promise we'll talk. Just get down before you fall. He stared at me for a long second, snot running down his lip, and then started climbing down. The second his feet hit the dirt, he tried to kiss me. I shoved him off so hard he stumbled. No! I said talk, not this. God, Jake! His eyes went dead, and then he bolted again. This time toward the cinder block wall that separates the fields from the parking lot. Before I could even move, he screamed and punched it with everything he had. Somebody call an ambulance!
No! Don't leave me, Ava, please, don't leave me here!
I crouched next to him, trying not to puke at the angle that his fingers were bent. I'm not leaving you here, okay? We're going to the hospital. Can you stand? He nodded, tears and snot mixing. I helped him to his car, buckled him in, and drove to the ER with his good hand clutching mine the whole way, whispering, I'm sorry, I love you, over and over. They took him back for x-rays. I sat in the waiting room staring at the floor until my roommate Jessica came to get me. I left his keys with the nurse and I walked out without even looking back. He texted me from the hospital bed an hour later. Picture of his cast. I broke 4 bones. They said it's because I hit it so hard. I did it because I can't lose you. I didn't answer. For the next 2 months, he was relentless. Flowers delivered to my dorm. Voicemails that went from crying to screaming to crying again. Showing up unannounced 3 more times. Once at 3 a.m., drunk, begging under my window. He made 17 different Instagram accounts after I blocked the first ones. My friends started recognizing his car on sight. I changed my number twice. He found the new ones through mutual friends. I almost filed a restraining order, but his mom called me crying, saying that he wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping, that he'd tried to hurt himself again. I felt guilty. I felt trapped. I felt like the villain. Finally, the day before winter break, I met him one last time in the parking lot of the McDonald's off campus. He looked thin, eyes sunken, cast still on. He started crying the second he saw me. Ava, I'm in therapy now. I'm on meds. I know I messed up. Please, one more chance. I took a breath. Jake, I'm not your lifeline. I'm not the thing keeping you alive. That's too much weight for anyone to carry. I'm 19. I want to go to parties without a curfew. I want to kiss whoever I want without owing you a play-by-play. I want to grow up without you hanging off my ankle. We're done. For real this time. He opened his mouth, closed it. Tears rolled down silently. If you ever show up at my dorm again, if you text me from another number, if you so much as drive past my building, I will call the cops and I will press charges. I mean it. He nodded, small, defeated. I got back in my car and drove away without looking in the rearview. That was 6 years ago. I still flinch when a phone rings too many times. I still check the peephole twice before I open my apartment door. Sometimes I'll see a gray tea guy in a coffee shop and my heart stops until I realize it's not him. Every time that some girl on YouTube or TikTok talks about cute, clingy boyfriends, I want to scream, run! If he cries when you set a boundary, he will break his hand when you leave. There's nothing romantic about a love that demands you shrink in order to fit inside of it. I remember that day I moved into that dorm room at UCLA like it was yesterday. It was the fall of my sophomore year, and I'd just broken up with my high school boyfriend back in Seattle. I needed a fresh start, you know? No more drama. Just focus on my psych major and maybe join a sorority. The housing office paired me with this girl named Emily. She seemed normal enough when we emailed beforehand. Blonde, from Chicago, into yoga and indie bands. We met in the lobby with our boxes, and she gave me this big, genuine hug like we'd known each other forever. "Hey, I'm Emily. Oh my God, your hair is amazing. Is that natural?" she said, tossing her ponytail over her shoulder. I laughed, feeling a bit awkward, but relieved. "Thanks. Yeah, it's all mine. I'm Jessica, by the way. Nice to finally meet you in person." We hauled our stuff up to the 3rd floor, chatting about our classes. She was pre-med, super ambitious, and had this infectious energy. "I can't wait to hit up the beach this weekend," she said. "You in? We could grab tacos from that truck on Westwood." "Sounds perfect," I replied, already picturing us as besties. The room was tiny. 2 twin beds shoved against opposite walls, desk, and a window overlooking the quad. We unpacked, blasting Taylor Swift playlists, and by dinner, we were swapping stories about our exes. "Mine was such a jerk," Emily confessed over pizza in the cafeteria. "Cheated with his lab partner." "What's your story?" "Nah, long distance killed it," I said, shrugging. "Couldn't handle me being here." "Whatever. Good riddance." She clinked her soda against mine. "To new beginnings." That night, though, everything changed. We'd stayed up late watching Netflix, some rom-com to unwind, and finally crashed around midnight. I was exhausted from moving, so I fell asleep fast. But I woke up maybe 2 hours later to this blood-curdling yelling. "No! No! 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 No!" It was Emily, thrashing in her bed like she was fighting off a demon. My heart pounded. I sat up, clutching my blanket. "Emily? Are you okay?" No answer. She flung her covers off in one violent swipe, and they landed in a heap on the floor. The room was dim, just moonlight filtering through the blinds. She sat bolt upright, her eyes wide open, like she wasn't really seeing anything. Then she whispered, so softly I almost missed it. "Not the window." I froze. Was she awake? Dreaming? I whispered back, "Emily? Hey, talk to me." She didn't. Instead, she swung her legs over the side of the bed and stood up. She shuffled to the window. My mind raced. Sleepwalking? I'd heard stories, but this was next level. She grabbed the lock with both hands and started twisting it back and forth. Lock, unlock, lock, unlock. Over and over. Whispering to herself the whole time. Mumbling words I couldn't make out. Like a chant. "Emily, stop! You're scaring me!" She ignored me. After what felt like forever, probably 3 minutes, she let go and muttered, "That'll do." And then she turned and started back toward her bed. But as she passed mine, she stopped dead, pivoted slowly to face me. Her eyes locked on mine, but they were empty, like staring into a void. She just stood there, breathing heavily for a solid 2 minutes. I could feel my pulse in my throat. Was she going to lunge? Scream? I didn't dare move. Finally, she whispered something incoherent and kept walking, right past her bed to the door. She reached out and dragged her hand down the wood from top to bottom, nails scraping lightly. Then she turned around, shuffled back, climbed into bed, and pulled the covers up like nothing happened. I lay there wide awake, terrified out of my mind. My skin crawled. What the hell was that? Part of me wanted to bolt, grab my keys, and crash on a friend's couch. But it was 2 a.m. and I didn't want to seem dramatic. Plus, she seemed so normal earlier. Maybe it was a one-off. Stress from the move or something. I didn't sleep a wink the rest of the night. Just stared at the ceiling, listening to her breathe. Morning came, and Emily woke up chipper as ever. "Good morning. How'd you sleep?" she asked, stretching and grabbing her towel for the shower. Fine," I lied, forcing a smile. "You?" "Like a rock. Must be the California air." She laughed and headed out. I never told her. "How do you even bring that up? Hey, roomie, you turned into a zombie last night and creeped me out?" We lived together for the whole semester, and she never did it again. Not that I'd noticed, anyway. I'd lie awake some nights, waiting, but she slept like a baby. We actually became friends, went to parties, studied together, even road tripped to Big Sur one weekend.
I'm a married man. I was happy with my wife, Carol, but I had these needs that she couldn't fulfill. Our love life was pretty boring. I went online and satisfied my urges that way, mostly through chats and stuff. That's how I met Veronica. We hit it off instantly. She was a very imaginative person, and we did a bunch of roleplay. I won't go into specifics. Eventually, we started meeting in person. She lived one town over, and I actually own property over there, so we used my second apartment as a place to meet. She was married too, so we had to be careful. This went on for a couple months, and it was incredible. My nights with Veronica were full of passion and excitement. We special ordered all kinds of costumes and devices, and we tried a little bit of everything. Carol had no idea. She could tell that I was happier overall, but she never seemed to suspect a thing. I just told her I had to travel a lot for work. Sure, I felt a little guilty, but it was worth it. Until that terrible night a few weeks ago, when everything went up in flames. Literally. Veronica had suggested some fire-based roleplay. That's all she told me beforehand. I had no idea what to expect. When I arrived at the apartment, she was wearing this wild orange and red costume. She was a fire goddess. She got a costume for me too, a volcano. It was surprisingly comfortable. As I put it on, she lit candles all around the apartment. There were hundreds of them on the floor and shelves. It was very romantic. I stepped out in my costume, and she ushered me across the room like the goddess she was. The flames lit up her beautiful face. I was so turned on. Then she pulled me onto the bed. There was a platter of cheeses next to us, and we fed each other as we got into character. She made up this backstory where she was a virgin sacrificed to the volcano, and now she was a fire spirit. Something like that. I don't quite remember, considering what happened next, but it was interesting. Veronica was always good at improvising. Before we really got going, I heard a skittering noise behind me. Our cheese platter had attracted a mouse, and it was running across the floor. It started squeaking horribly, and Veronica looked terrified. I couldn't turn my head all the way around because of the costume, but pretty soon I saw it. The poor mouse had gotten too close to the candles. It was on fire, racing around the room like a little fireball. Pretty soon, flames were everywhere, and that mouse jumped onto the bed, spreading fire onto the sheets. My costume was thick and rubber, so I was protected, but Veronica's draping fabric was very flammable. Pretty soon, her whole costume was consumed. She jumped off the bed, trying to tear off her clothes. "Stop, drop, and roll, Veronica! Stop, drop, and roll!" She was too panicked to listen. She thrashed around, which only spread the fire more. The sliding door to the balcony was wide open. I watched in horror as my mistress stumbled onto the balcony as she patted at her burning body. In seconds, she toppled over the edge. No! We were on the second story, so I wasn't sure if she survived the fall. All I knew was that the fire was everywhere now, and I needed to get out of the apartment. I tried to look through the smoke, but I could barely see. I couldn't breathe at all. Flames were blocking the exit and getting closer. There was only one escape now. I had to jump off the balcony too. Moving on instinct, I ran through the smoke and got to the edge. I could see Veronica's body on the ground below. She wasn't on fire anymore, but her costume was black and melted into her skin. She looked horrible, and one of her feet was bent to the side, clearly broken. But she was moving, so at least she was still alive. I could feel the heat against my back. I didn't have much time left. I took a deep breath and jumped. When I landed next to Veronica, it didn't hurt at all. My thick costume protected me in the fall. In fact, I bounced a little. I had to breathe deeply because of all the smoke inhalation, but otherwise I was totally fine. Veronica looked awful, and I didn't have a scratch on me. Are you okay? What do you think? I looked up at the apartment and saw that the smoke was gone. The sprinkler system must have switched on seconds after I jumped. An ambulance came to pick up Veronica, and the fire department went upstairs to check out the damage. I took off my volcano costume and the paramedics checked me out. They said I was fine, though they gave me some judgmental looks as they took Veronica away. I changed into my spare clothes from my car and was about to drive to the hospital to check on Veronica, when all of a sudden I saw my wife's car in the parking lot. She got out and ran toward me. Are you okay? I heard your apartment caught fire. I didn't know what to say. I was so shocked to see her that I didn't ask her how she heard about the fire. I obviously couldn't go to the hospital now. I hugged Carol and started crying. She told me everything was going to be okay, that we could just go home and forget this ever happened. The insurance company would pay for the repairs and we'd never have to speak of this again. I kept thinking about poor Veronica, with her broken ankle and the burns all over her body, but I didn't say anything. I just let Carol comfort me. What do you say, honey? Let's never mention this night again. Promise me? I promise. As I said that, I noticed something in the back seat of her car. It was a little crate, the kind meant to carry mice.
Last year, I bought my first house. It was everything I ever wanted and more. 2 stories, a huge backyard, more than enough space for me to live with my family, once I finally got married and settled down. The price was cheap, suspiciously cheap actually. I worried that there were issues with leaks or mold or something, but the realtor assured me that nope, everything was as it seemed. Nothing strange happened when I moved in. That didn't start until 3 weeks later, after I moved in all my stuff. I had a couple of friends over for a little housewarming party. We were drinking and playing games in the living room when my friend Rudy absolutely freaked out. His glass fell out of his hand and shattered onto the ground. What's wrong? Do you see that? He was pointing at the window, but when I looked, nothing was there. All I saw was my backyard through the foggy glass. Rudy swore up and down that he saw something outside. He didn't say what it looked like, just thought it was big. I couldn't tell if he was messing with me. I didn't have a lot of plants in the backyard. There were patches of dead grass and some gnarled little trees, but my whole property was on a section of land that seemed kind of barren. I doubted that I had any animals back there. Well, I cleaned up the broken glass and gave Rudy a new drink. We tried to restart our game, but the vibes were off. My friends all ended up leaving earlier than they expected. When I was alone, I went over to that window and just stared outside, trying to figure out what Rudy had seen. I didn't see anything that night, but I did feel a change in temperature. There was a strange warm spot right in front of the window. A few days later, I started noticing other things. Crackling noises under the floorboards. A strange, steady thump behind the walls. Random warm spots in different parts of the house. There were plenty of rational explanations for all of it, but that didn't stop me from getting spooked. And then I saw the handprints. I was watching TV in my living room when I noticed something through the kitchen window out of the corner of my eye. A faded, gray handprint appeared on the glass. Then another. It looked like someone was outside trying to get in. Who's there? The handprints disappeared. But then more handprints appeared on a different window. Standing in the middle of the living room, I spun around trying to look at all of the windows. And sure enough, each one of them had handprints that came and went. I nervously walked up towards one of the windows and saw a handprint appear right in front of my face. And up close, I could see that there was no one on the other side of the glass. No one to make the handprint. This had no logical explanation. I switched on all the lights and locked all the doors. I pulled out my phone and started to dial 911. Then I stopped myself. The police would just think I was crazy. I called the realtor instead. Hello? Who is this? There's something about my new house that you didn't tell me. The realtor got quiet for a long moment, and then he took a deep breath and apologized. He said that I wasn't the first person to experience strange occurrences at this property, and that's why the house had been so cheap. I demanded that he tell me everything he knew. He slowly explained that before the house was built, there was a circus on this property. It was a small one-ring circus that specialized in animal acts and stunt work. This was way back in the 20s or 30s. The realtor wasn't entirely sure of the time period. Well, back then, the circus had 2 star performers, Clara and Ethan. They were trapeze artists. Audiences enjoyed all the performances, but Clara and Ethan were the real draw. People came from miles around to see them walk the tightrope and swing through the air in their elaborate routines. The circus owner paid them well and made sure that they were happy. And then Clara discovered that she was pregnant. As a couple, they decided to leave showbiz behind and start a family. The owner refused to let that happen. He told them that he supported their decision, but before one of their rehearsals, he manipulated Clara's swing, causing her to fall. He didn't want Clara to die, he just wanted the fall to fix her baby situation. Unfortunately, she missed the net completely. She died on impact. Ethan was horrified. He knew that the owner had sabotaged her rope. More than that, he knew that the other performers at the circus were aware of the plan. Now, whether that was true or not, we'll never know. But seeing his wife's tragic accident filled him with pure anger at the entire circus. He left for the hospital, vowing to never return. But he did return. That weekend, during the first show without the trapeze artists, with over 100 people in the tent, Ethan freed all the animals, blocked the exits, and set the tent on fire. No one escaped. Ethan was never seen again. He might have fled, but people say he just walked into the fire, and the spot where the circus burned was left abandoned until developers built a house. My house. That was the story, anyway. Now, a week ago, I wouldn't have believed it. But I saw the gray handprints with my own eyes, and I knew that they were from the victims of the circus fire, forever trapped in the flames. I ended the call without saying anything. What was I supposed to do? I'd sunk my life savings into this house. It was perfect. But the bad energy that surrounded it was too much. I couldn't leave, but I was too afraid to stay. I couldn't sleep that night, or the night after. Eventually, Rudy came over to visit. I told him everything, and he believed me. He was the one other person to see the ghosts. Let's call a priest. Rudy was Catholic. I wasn't. Couldn't think of a better solution, though. So, that afternoon, Father Matthew came over with incense and holy water. Rudy and I followed him around the house as he cleansed each room. Nothing felt different afterward, but ever since then, the haunting stopped. No more strange noises. No more handprints. My life went back to normal. The house turned into the prime hangout spot for all my friends. And over the following months, I forgot about the ghost stuff completely. I'm in a relationship now. I'm dating this great girl named Jade. Last week, she told me she was pregnant. It was the best news of my life. I'm finally going to start a family. But just this morning, I was making her breakfast in the kitchen when I heard her scream from upstairs. I ran into the living room, and I found her clinging to the banister at the top of the stairs. Something pushed me! I almost fell! I ran to her and held her tight, making sure that she wasn't hurt. Now, I don't know if it was just some strange accident, or if the ghosts are back. I'm terrified that Jade will suffer the same fate as Clara. What should I do? I was 20. Sophomore year. and thought I had finally found someone who got me. His name was Derek. We'd been seeing each other for maybe 4.5 months, long enough that I'd started leaving a toothbrush in his dorm bathroom, long enough that his friends knew my coffee order. He was tall, or I thought he was, until the night that I accidentally proved that we were the exact same height barefoot, 5'9". I never cared. Apparently, he did. It was Halloween 2014. His fraternity house and a couple others were throwing a massive party at the old VFW hall off campus. Everyone was going. Derek had been hyping it for weeks.
It's gonna be insane, babe. Costume contest, kegs, the DJ from that club in the city.
He was going as a Top Gun pilot. Boring, but the leather jacket looked good on him. I spent actual money I didn't have on a flight attendant costume. Little navy dress, red neck scarf, pillbox hat with wings pinned to it, fishnets, and the cutest red patent heels I'd ever seen. 4 inches. They made my legs look endless, and I felt like a goddamn smoke show. I texted him when I parked. "Here, XX." He wrote back, "Cool. Doors open. Come find me." I walked in, music already deafening, strobe lights cutting through the fake fog. The place was wall-to-wall costumes. Nurses, Deadpool, one guy dressed as a tampon for some reason. I spotted Derek by the bar almost immediately. He had his back to me, laughing with his roommate Damien and a couple of guys from the lacrosse team. I came up behind him, slipped my arms around his waist. "Hey, Maverick." He turned. The smile froze on his face. His eyes went from my face, down to my shoes, and back up again, slowly, like he was doing math. "You're wearing heels," he said. Not a question. "Yeah? They match the costume. You like?" He didn't answer, just stared. And then he leaned in, voice low so his friends wouldn't hear. "You're taller than me right now." I laughed because I thought he was joking. "Derek, relax." "No. Go change them." I blinked. "I'm an hour from home. These are the only shoes I brought." He looked around and then grabbed my wrist. Not playful, hard, and pulled me toward the side exit that led to the patio. The cold hit me immediately. He let go and paced 2 steps, ran a hand through his hair. "You are seriously embarrassing me," he said. "Embarrassing you? It's Halloween. Nobody cares how tall I am." "I care. My friends saw. They're already giving me shit." I felt my stomach drop. "Giving you shit because your girlfriend is a few inches taller than you in heels? Are you 12? "Don't." He pointed at me. "Don't turn this around. You knew this would make me look bad." I didn't know anything. I liked the shoes. That's literally it. He stepped closer. "Take them off." "Here? And walk around barefoot in this gross-ass hall? No." His face was red now, eyes glassy from however many beers he'd already had. "You're not going back in there like that. Derek, stop. I said take them off, Lauren." That was the first time he used my name like a threat. I felt it in my spine. I tried to walk past him, back inside. He blocked the door with his arm. "Change the shoes now." "I'm not." He gripped my arm again, fingers digging in. "You think this is funny? You think it's cute to make me look like a joke in front of everyone? Let go of me. Change them or we're leaving. We just got here." He was breathing hard through his nose. "Then leave the shoes in the car and come back barefoot. I don't care." I laughed, but it came out shaky. You've lost your mind." That was when he snapped. He shoved me. Not hard enough to knock me down, but enough that my back hit the brick wall. And then he got right in my face.
You did this on purpose. You wanted to humiliate me. Derek, get away from me.
His hand shot up and tangled in my hair, grabbed a fistful right at the scalp, and yanked my head back so hard my eyes watered.
You don't get to talk to me like that,
he said, voice shaking with rage. You're going to go home, and you're going to throw every single pair of stupid heels you own in the trash.
Do you understand me?
I don't know what happened in my body at that moment. Something switched. The fear flipped into pure ice-cold fury. I brought my knee up as hard as I could. He made this awful high-pitched sound and doubled over, both hands flying between his legs. I still had the leverage from the hair pull. He hadn't let go yet, so when he bent, my head jerked forward with him. I used it, shoved both hands into his chest, and screamed,
"Get the hell off me!"
Stumbled back, tripped over a stack of empty kegs, and went down hard on the concrete. I stood over him, chest heaving, hair half out of the updo I'd spent an hour on. People were starting to come outside. Someone must have seen through the window. Damien was first. What the hell's going on? Derek was on his knees, dry heaving.
She attacked me.
I didn't wait. I looked straight at Damien. Your boy just grabbed me by the hair and told me to throw away all of my shoes because, God forbid, his girlfriend be taller than him for one night. So yeah, I need him. We done here? Damien's mouth opened, closed. Derek tried to stand.
Lauren,
Don't say my name. We're done. For good. Don't text me. Don't call me. Don't even look in my direction on campus. I see you coming. I'm crossing the street. I walked back inside. The music hit me again like a wall. I found my friend Marissa by the bar, grabbed her arm. I need to get out of here. She took one look at my face. What happened? Later. Just can I crash at your place? Of course. I didn't take the heels off until I was in her bathroom 20 minutes later, scrubbing mascara off my cheeks with a wad of toilet paper. My scalp was still throbbing where he'd pulled. There were red marks on my arm that would turn into bruises by morning. Marissa knocked softly. You okay? No, but I will be. I blocked his number that night, deleted every photo. The next day, I walked to every class in the highest heels I owned. Black suede, 5 inches, sharp enough to stab someone with. I wore them until the soles were wrecked.
My wife Rosie was a very passionate person. That's what I loved about her. She was a musician, and she used her singing as a way to let out all her feelings. I played bass for her band, and I was more technically skilled than her, but I didn't have the raw emotions that she did. That kind of summed up our relationship. I was the stable one with a steady rhythm, and she was the wild one who made everything exciting. It was a great dynamic. At least, I thought it was. Then one day, I met a guy named David at one of our concerts. Seemingly a great guy, very friendly. He helped me load up my equipment into my truck, and we really hit it off. While Rosie was drinking with her bandmates, David and I really bonded. He quickly became my best friend. He started hanging out at our house a lot. Rosie liked him too, but I didn't know how much she liked him until I caught them making out in her backyard. I was furious. I didn't say anything at the time. But that night, I confronted her about it. I'm so sorry. He kissed me and I should have pushed him away. I'll never see him again. She had all these excuses, blaming David for the whole drama. She said she regretted it instantly, and she was planning to tell me about it that night. I stupidly believed her. Turns out, they'd been sleeping with each other already for weeks. But I didn't know that at the time. Our anniversary was right after that, and seemingly to make sure that I knew how much she loved me, she planned this big romantic boat trip. It was a big deal for Rosie because she was terrible at planning out things. The fact that she rented out a boat and organized a big dinner for us out in the bay seemed to prove that her affair with David meant nothing. I still felt betrayed, but I knew that we'd get over it. We loved each other. It was just the two of us on the boat. Rosie had gone through a 3-hour training session so she could captain the boat herself. I was very impressed. We set sail right at sunset and we sang together as we got farther and farther from the docks. It was very romantic. Once we were miles from the shore, she kissed me. "I'm sorry, sweetie. I really do love you." I thought she was apologizing for the David thing, but she was apologizing for what she was about to do, what they were about to do. Immediately, the door on the lower deck shot open and David walked out. He had a harpoon gun aimed right at me. He marched over, wrapped his free arm around Rosie's shoulder, and glared at me. "What's going on?" Rosie leaned her chin on David's shoulder. She had love in her eyes, love for him. "Just do it, baby." That's when David fired the harpoon at me. It pierced my shoulder, sending me backwards into the water. I was bleeding, confused, splashing around in the ocean. My shoulder was throbbing, but the cold was worse. I could see the two of them hugging each other on the deck. "Come on, honey, let's get out of here." I didn't see them after that. Seconds later, the engine turned on. They were going to leave me here to drown. My own wife would rather kill me than just ask for a divorce. It's not like either of us had any money. I wasn't panicking, though. I was too angry to panic. I would not let them get away with this. Ignoring the pain, I swam to the edge of the boat and grabbed onto a rope that was hanging from the side. As the boat headed back toward shore, I held on. 10 minutes. That's how long it took to get back to the dock. During that time, I almost lost my grip over and over, but I refused to let go. I kept kicking my legs and telling myself I was going to survive. I heard their voices on the deck as they tied off the boat and got off. I couldn't make out their exact words, but it sounded like they were practicing what to say when they reported me missing. They were laughing too. I could hear that part clearly. I watched them run across the dock and onto the beach. Rosie's hair was wild, and I could hear her screaming.
"Help! Someone call the police! My husband fell overboard!"
I stayed in the water and watched a crowd of people gather around Rosie and David. David tried to look upset, but he wasn't a very good actor. Rosie, meanwhile, was giving the performance of her life. A policeman appeared in the crowd and told her that everything would be okay. He got her to calm down and tell him the whole story. She must have practiced it beforehand, because she sounded very believable. She told him that I had drank too much and fell off the deck. They looked everywhere but couldn't find me, and because they didn't have their phones, they had to race back to shore to get help. The policeman fell for it. He contacted the Coast Guard and wrapped her in a hug to calm her down. And while she was crying in his arms, I stepped out of the water with the harpoon wound in my shoulder and a smile on my face. David and Rosie didn't see me walk toward them, but the cop did. "Excuse me, officer. I need an ambulance. These assholes shot me with the harpoon." So I'm divorced now. I kept the band together and took on the lead vocals now that Rosie's in jail. I'm a much more confident person now. I'm finally able to live my life to the fullest. Plus, I have a really cool scar on my shoulder.
Adam had always been the steady one in his relationship with Sandra. They met in college in Chicago, back when life felt full of promise. They bonded over late-night study sessions that turned into whispered dreams about the future. Fast forward 5 years, and they were sharing a small apartment in Brooklyn, New York, chasing the American dream. Sandra landed a solid job at a digital agency, pulling in enough to cover rent and groceries. Adam worked as a software developer for a mid-sized tech firm. But when the layoffs hit in early 2025, he was one of the first to go. It's just temporary. he told Sandra that night, forcing a smile as they sat on their worn-out couch. "I'll bounce back." But months dragged on. Adam sent out hundreds of resumes, attended virtual interviews that led nowhere, and watched his savings dwindle. Sandra picked up extra freelance gigs to keep him afloat, but the strain showed. Adam started stress eating. Late-night bags of chips, extra slices of pizza delivery, and the weight crept on, turning his once athletic frame soft around the edges. Small arguments erupted like brush fires. Who'd forgotten to pay the electric bill? Why the dishes were piling up? Whose turn it was to walk the dog that they didn't even have?
"You're not even trying anymore,"
Sandra snapped one evening after finding him binge-watching Netflix instead of job hunting. Adam shot back,
"You think I'd like this? Feeling like a loser every day?"
He did feel like a failure. Staring at his reflection in the bathroom mirror, Adam saw a man unraveling. Desperation led him down rabbit holes online. LinkedIn tips, resume builders, and then, inevitably, those glossy ads for life coaches promising miracles.
"Build a blissful life full of gratitude,"
one banner read, featuring testimonials from people who had turned their lives around.
"I was broke in until I met my guide,"
one woman gushed. Adam scrolled skeptically at first, but the stories hooked him. What if there was a way out? One rainy evening, an email pinged in his inbox.
"Hi, I'm Jennifer, your guide. I can unlock your true potential and lead you out of your problems. Click the link below to start the free chat."
It seemed too coincidental, but Adam clicked anyway. The chat room loaded instantly. A sleek interface with a profile pic of a serene woman smiling warmly.
"Welcome, Adam. I'm Jennifer. Tell me about yourself."
The message popped up. He hesitated, and then typed his date of birth, his job loss, the fights with Sandra. Jennifer responded quickly.
"I sense you've been feeling lost since May 15th. That's when the layoff happened, right? And your weight gain started around July."
Adam's jaw dropped. How could she know? It was generic enough to be a lucky guess, but it felt personal.
"Yes, exactly," he replied. "How did you know?" "It's my gift," she wrote. "I connect with energies. Let's work on unlocking yours."
Their chats became daily rituals. Jennifer doled out advice that started small, but grew bizarre.
"Switch to chamomile tea every morning. It clears negative vibes," she instructed.
Adam complied, dumping his coffee habit.
"Wear a blue shirt on Tuesdays for confidence boosts."
He rummaged through his closet, finding an old button-up. Then came the weirder ones.
"Avoid mirrors after 8 p.m. They reflect back doubts."
Adam covered the bathroom mirror with a towel each night.
"Carry a pebble in your left pocket, painted red for passion. Rub it when you feel low."
He found a stone in the park, painted it with Sandra's nail polish.
"Whisper, 'I am worthy' 3 times before eating any meal."
Adam muttered it under his breath at dinner, earning a quizzical look from Sandra. "What are you doing?" she asked one night, spooning pasta onto plates. "Just affirming myself," he said vaguely. Sandra raised an eyebrow. "Okay, weirdo." As weeks passed, Adam felt a shift. Or so he thought. A job interview came through, though it fell apart. He credited Jennifer. "You're my miracle," he messaged her. But Sandra noticed the changes. Adam's phone buzzed constantly with notifications. He'd sneak off to the bedroom for quick chats. One afternoon, she peeked over his shoulder and saw the instructions. "This is Adam," she said, her voice sharp. "Life coaches? Predictions? It's all pseudoscience, preying on vulnerable people. Placebos at best, scams at worst." "You don't get it. She's helping me." "Helping? By telling you not to wear brown shoes because they ground negative energy? Come on, babe, you're smarter than this." That night, Adam vented to Jennifer. "My girlfriend thinks you're a fraud. She's always criticizing now. It's frustrating." Jennifer's response came after a pause.
I see the issue. Sandra's energies are heavy, Adam. They're blocking your blessings. Guardian angels are trying to reach you, but her negativity is in the way. That's why the job hunt's stalled, why your health is declining. She might even be the root of your job loss, subconsciously manifesting it.
Adam stared at the screen.
What?
"No, Sandra's been supporting me."
Trust me, Jennifer typed. I've seen this before. To fix it, you need to separate. Break up with her. Clear the path.
His heart sank. Break up? Sandra was his rock, even through the mess.
Isn't there another way?
He pleaded. There was a long delay. Then,
there is an alternative, but it's intensive. It requires investment. $5,000 for cleansing. And you must follow my instructions precisely to purge her negative energies and rebuild a new Sandra.
Adam swallowed hard. $5,000? They didn't have that. But maybe he could borrow from his parents. Okay, what do I do?
Tie her up securely for a full month. Use soft ropes to avoid marks, but keep her immobilized in a quiet room. Feed her only vegetable soup 3 times a day. It detoxifies the soul. Shave all her hair, head, eyebrows, body hair. It symbolizes shedding the old, corrupted self. Bathe her in salt water daily while chanting renew and release 7 times.
Adam's fingers hovered over the keyboard. It sounded insane, but Jennifer had been right before. Maybe this was the miracle he needed. All right, he typed. I'll do it for us. Unknown to him, Sandra had slipped back into the room, drawn by his frantic typing. She read over his shoulder, her face paling as the words sank in. Tie her up? Shave her? For a month? Rage boiled up, hot and unfiltered. This idiot was agreeing to torture her on the advice of some online con artist? She grabbed his head from behind, slamming it forward into the keyboard with a crack that echoed through the apartment. Keys scattered like confetti. "You are the most idiotic guy I have ever dated!" Sandra screamed. Adam yelped, clutching his forehead, blood trickling from split skin. "Sandra, what the hell? What the hell? You're planning to tie me up and shave me bald because some scam artist says I'm negative energy? Are you f***ing kidding me?" He spun in the chair, face flushed. "It's not like that. Jennifer said it would help us. Rebuild you. Make things better." "Rebuild me? Like I'm a goddamn project? You've lost your mind, Adam. All this time I have been busting my ass to support us, and you're throwing it away on this But she's helped me feel better. The instructions work. Placebo, you And now you're ready to assault me? For $5,000 we don't have? Tears stung her eyes, but anger won out. She grabbed her coat and keys. "I'm done! We're done! Sandra, wait! Jennifer is our life!" "Shut the hell up, you wimp! Don't call, don't text, lose my number!" She slammed the door behind her. Adam sat there, stunned, the chat window still open. Jennifer messaged, "Everything okay?" "No, Sandra just left me," Adam typed. "Good, this is great. Consider this as the first day of your new life." I never understood the craze for the laboo dolls. I thought they were kind of ugly and way too expensive, but everyone had them. I just saw them as the latest toy fad, like Beanie Babies or Cabbage Patch Dolls. They'd be popular for a while, and then people would forget all about them. My boyfriend, Ben, however, thought that they were demonic. He was a smart, creative guy who wrote really elaborate mystery novels and loved playing strategy games. He seemed like the least likely person to believe in conspiracies. But somehow, he hated laboobos and freaked out whenever he saw one. We worked at the same company, and it really bothered him that some of our coworkers had laboobos in their cubicles. He didn't cause a scene or anything, but there were parts of the office that he actively avoided because he didn't want to see their little faces grinning at him. He never made a big deal about it in front of his coworkers. But when we were alone, that's all he talked about. Last September, our company had an anniversary party, and my supervisor, Lisa, gave everyone in my department Labubu keychains as a present. She made a big deal about solidarity and how it was important that everyone keeps the keychains so that we feel more like a team. I would have just left mine in a drawer somewhere, but considering that it meant so much to Lisa, and she had spent so much money, I clipped mine on my keys and hoped that Ben wouldn't notice. He did. Right away.
You have to get rid of that thing! Burn it!
I explained why it was important to keep it, but he didn't care. We got into one of our biggest fights as a couple, and it was all over a labubu. In the end, I didn't back down. I kept my keychain.
I tried to warn you. That thing will only bring pain and misfortune. Just you watch.
We didn't talk about it afterward. There was no point. Ben was being irrational, and he wasn't going to change his mind. And then, bad things started to happen. First, it was a fire in our apartment. The stove somehow turned on by itself. Ben and I were watching TV in the living room at the time. We started choking on smoke. Ben ran into the kitchen and he saw our cabinets on fire. He busted out the fire extinguisher, so we didn't have too much damage. But afterwards, he turned to me with this horrified look. I told you bad things would happen. It didn't stop there. Important documents went missing. There was a crack on my mug, and I spilled coffee all over my company laptop. My chair leg broke in the middle of the workday. A week later, my coworker slipped down the stairs and shattered her ankle. I had to take over her duties while she recovered. I knew it was crazy, but I really started to believe Ben. I didn't think that there was any demonic energy involved, but I did believe in luck. And right now, it looked like my department was on a bad luck streak. I still refused to get rid of my labubu, and I never mentioned this theory to my coworkers. This drove Ben crazy. He started having nightmares about the labubus. He'd tell me about them afterwards. Usually, he was running through a field with a giant labubu chasing him. It would grab him, lift him up into the air, and bite off his head. At least, that's what he told me after he screamed himself awake. I think that's what made me finally decide to talk to my coworkers. It wasn't the bad luck. It was my boyfriend's mental well-being. I didn't want him to go off the deep end just because of some toy that I was too stubborn to throw out. So I told Lisa my concerns. I think I did a good job of explaining things, but she laughed in my face. Worse, she told everyone else in the office and made me look like a crazy person. I tried to tell them that it was Ben's idea, not mine, but that just made the situation worse. People started avoiding me after that. I could hear them joke about it. And someone in the department started putting more labubus in my drawers just to mess with me. It turned into an inside joke throughout the whole department. I felt awful. At home, Ben tried to reassure me. He said that as soon as all these labubus are gone, everything would go back to normal. He convinced me to round up everyone's labubus and get rid of them once and for all. I never would have done something like that before, but I was in a vulnerable place. I hated all the judgment from everybody,
especially Lisa. She and I used to be really close. I burned all my labubus that night. And the next day at work, I went around gathering up all the other ones that I could find. I got to Lisa's desk, but I couldn't find her labubu. I did, however, find something else. A silver necklace. It was the exact same necklace that Ben had bought a month ago. I saw it on his dresser, and I assumed that he was saving it for my birthday. But no, it was never meant for me. He'd bought it for Lisa. I didn't understand the whole story, but I knew that Ben and Lisa were having an affair. My suspicions were confirmed that afternoon. Ben came down to our floor, making sure that all of our coworkers could see him. "Mona, I just heard that you've been rounding up everyone's labubus? And I saw the ones that you burned last night. I'm sorry, but you need help. It's over between us." All at once, it made sense. He had been gaslighting me the whole time. He never had a fear of labubus. He had tricked me into believing his nonsense, set up all the accidents himself, and goaded me into acting irrationally just so that he'd have an excuse to publicly break up with me. It was the most cold-hearted, needlessly complicated breakup plan in the world. But it was the truth. I was too shocked to respond. He left before I could form words. And to make things so much worse, Lisa called me into her office. She used my irrational behavior, and the fact that I had sneaked into her office, as an excuse to fire me. Labubus ruined my life. I didn't fight for my job. I had other opportunities, and I didn't see myself working alongside Lisa anymore. Well, I hope you two are happy together. I stormed off. A week later, I started working at a different company. Same pay, less toxicity. I moved into a new apartment with my former roommate and restarted my life. I was still angry at all the mind games, but looking back, the whole situation was pretty comical. Ben was a cheater and manipulator, but he was very creative, you gotta hand it to him. Plus, things tend to work out in the end. My coworker with a broken leg ended up suing the company for the accident. She tracked down security footage showing Ben wiping grease onto the stairs as part of his big plan. He got arrested. The company lost a lot of money in the lawsuit, and so they had to fire our whole department, including Lisa. So I guess justice wins out. When I heard the news, I went straight to a toy shop and bought a new labubu. It's my good luck charm. My name is Jennifer, and I was an idiot. It was 2 years ago when Caleb and I signed the papers on the foreclosure. We were young and optimistic, but optimism doesn't stop a screwdriver from prying open a window frame at 2 a.m. The night it happened, the humidity was stifling. Our AC unit was on the fritz again, another joy of home ownership, so the air in the bedroom was thick and heavy. Caleb was pulling a double shift at the plant, leaving me alone in the creaking, settling skeleton of a house. I was lying in bed. An ID channel marathon was running. I know, the irony isn't lost on me. I was half dozing, listening to a narrator describing a grisly murder in Wisconsin, when I heard it. My eyes snapped open. The sound came from right beside me. Our bedroom was small, forcing the bed against the exterior wall. The window, an old single-pane sash window that rattled in the wind, was less than 12 inches from my ear. Damn squirrels, I muttered, rolling onto my back. We had a massive oak tree that overhung the roof. The rodents were constantly treating our shingles like a runway. I closed my eyes, trying to force myself back into the drift. That wasn't claws on wood. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. I stared at the ceiling fan, straining my ears against the drone of the TV. God damn it. Stuck.
The voice was a low, raspy mumble. It was male, and it was right next to my head. Adrenaline dumped into my system so fast it made me nauseous. It wasn't a squirrel. Squirrels didn't curse. Someone was standing in the flower bed outside, working a tool under the lip of my window frame. I scrambled backward, tangling myself in the sheets, and hit the floor on the opposite side of the bed. I didn't think, I just reacted. "I have a gun!" I screamed, my voice cracking but loud. "I have a gun and I'm calling the cops! Get the hell away!" I didn't have a gun. I had a heavy brass lamp and a cell phone, but he didn't know that. The scratching stopped instantly. Silence. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped my phone twice before I dialed 911. 911, what is your emergency? "Someone's trying to break into my house. I'm at 402 Elm. Please, he was at the bedroom window." "Is the intruder inside the house, ma'am?" No, he stopped when I screamed, but he's out there." "Okay, I have officers in the area. Stay on the line with me. Are you in a safe place?" "I'm in the hallway. The doors are locked." The wait felt long, but it was probably less than 4 minutes. I watched the front door, waiting for it to be kicked in. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like footsteps. When the blue and red lights finally washed over the living room curtains, I nearly collapsed with relief. 2 officers met me at the door. "You said he was at the bedroom window?" the older one asked, shining his flashlight into the yard. "Yes, right there. I heard him talking. He was cursing." They walked the perimeter. I stood on the porch, hugging my arms, feeling exposed in my oversized t-shirt. The neighborhood was dead silent. No dogs barking, no cars, just the hum of the transformer on the pole. They came back around the corner, shaking their heads. "Ma'am, we didn't see anyone," the older officer said, clicking his light off. "No footprints in the mulch, but it is pretty dry out here. You sure it wasn't the tree branches? The wind is picking up." I felt the heat rise in my cheeks. "It wasn't a tree. Trees don't talk." He gave me a look. The look that says, "Hysterical woman alone at night." "Right. Well, we checked the yard. It's clear. Probably just a prowler who got spooked and ran off when you yelled. You did the right thing." "You're leaving?" I asked, my voice rising. "We can't stay, ma'am, unless we find someone."
Fire patrol's on way.
Just then, the radio on his shoulder crackled to life. "Dispatch to Unit 4 Alpha. Break-in in progress. 408 Elm. Resident reports intruder forcing the back slider." The color drained from the rookie's face. "That's 3 houses down." "Go! See, I told you!" They didn't say goodbye. They sprinted to the cruiser, tires screeching as they peeled out down the street. I slammed the front door and threw the deadbolt. I checked the lock 3 times. Then I checked the back door. Then the windows. I went back to the bedroom to get my phone, but I couldn't stay in there. The window felt like a gaping eye. I grabbed the duvet and dragged it to the living room couch. I dialed Caleb. "Jen, everything okay?" He sounded exhausted. No, it's not. Someone tried to get in, Caleb, through the bedroom window." "What? Are you hurt? Did you call the police?" I'm fine. The cops just left. They didn't believe me until a call came in from the neighbors. Caleb, I'm terrified. Please tell me you're coming home." "I'm leaving right now. I'm clocking out early. Him. I'll be there in 20 minutes. "Stay on the phone with me. Please, just talk to me." "I'm right here, babe. I'm getting in the truck. Lock the doors." "They're locked. I checked them twice." For the next 15 minutes, we talked about nothing. He described the traffic. I described the show that I had been watching. Anything to fill the silence in the house. Every shadow in the living room looked like a man standing there. "Okay, I'm turning off the highway. I'm almost there." "Thank God," I whispered. I sat up on the couch. Our backyard had a wooden ramp leading up to a shed where Caleb kept his tools. It was right next to the back door. The wood was old and warped, and it made a very distinct, hollow thud clump sound when anyone walked on it. "Oh, thank God," I said into the phone, letting out a breath I'd been holding for an hour. "I hear you. You're on the ramp." "What?" Caleb asked.
I hear you on the back ramp. Hurry inside. I'm unlocking the door.
I pulled the phone away from my ear and went to hang up.
Jen, don't!
I put the phone back to my ear.
What?
Jen, listen to me very carefully.
I'm at the traffic light on 5th. I'm not in the neighborhood yet.
The blood in my veins turned to ice water. The world tilted on its axis. The footsteps were at the top of the ramp. They stopped right outside the back door.
Oh my God,
I whispered.
Oh my God, Caleb, he's at the door.
Get out of there! Get out of the house, now!
I can't! The front door takes too long to unlock!
I dropped the phone. I didn't care about the call anymore. I backed away from the kitchen, staring at the doorknob of the back door. It rattled. Just a gentle jiggle at first, then a violent twist. The wood of the frame groaned as a shoulder slammed into it from the outside. I ran to the kitchen drawer, fumbling blindly for a knife, anything sharp. I grabbed a steak knife, clutching it with both hands, shaking so hard I nearly cut myself. Police, open up! The shout didn't come from the back door, it came from the front yard. Sirens wailed, cutting through the night air, loud and close. The pounding on the back door stopped. I heard the sound of boots running down the ramp, followed by shouting in the backyard. Freeze! Get on the ground! Show me your hands! I sank to the kitchen floor, the knife clattering out of my hand. I curled into a ball, sobbing, unable to breathe. Minutes later, or maybe seconds, time was broken. Caleb burst through the front door. He didn't even shut it behind him. He found me on the kitchen floor and scooped me up, burying his face in my hair. He was shaking just as hard as I was. I've got you. I'm here. I've got you. Outside, it sounded like a war zone. Radios, shouting, dogs barking. We eventually went out onto the front porch. The street was lit up like a disco with police cruisers. They had a guy in cuffs leaning against the hood of the car. He looked like a skeleton with skin stretched over it, sores on his face, eyes wild and darting. He was twitching, muttering to himself, his head bobbing rhythmically. The older officer from earlier walked up to the porch. He looked exhausted. You okay, folks? Is that him? Caleb asked, his arm wrapped so tight around my waist it hurt. Yeah, that's him. We call him Smoke Whiz. He's been hitting houses in a 3-block radius all night. Same MO. Tries the windows with a screwdriver, and if that doesn't work, he tries the doors. We've been one step behind him for 2 hours. I looked at the guy. He was staring at the sky, licking his lips.
He was at my window,
I said, my voice hoarse.
Why did he stop? I screamed, but...
The officer cracked a small, grim smile. Well, actually, ma'am, that's the funny part. You want to see something? He led us around the side of the house to the bedroom window. He clicked on his heavy flashlight and he aimed it at the ground. There was the screen, lying in the dirt, bent and torn. We got the screen off, the officer said, moving the beam up to the window frame. But look there. In the upper corner of the window frame, tucked between the glass and the brick mold, was a pulsating, angry gray mass. A wasp nest. A big one. He pried the screen off and he stuck his hand right into the hive. The officer chuckled. We found him with his left eye swollen shut and welts all over his neck. That cursing you heard wasn't because the window was stuck. He was getting lit up by about 50 of these little bastards. I looked at the nest. I hated wasps. I was usually out there with a can of Raid the second I saw one. But tonight, looking at those angry, buzzing stingers, I felt a strange surge of affection. He disturbed the wrong house, Caleb said quietly. Yep. The officer nodded, hitching up his belt. Between your scream and the wasps, he decided to try his luck down the street. Saved you a broken window, at the very least. I remember it like it was yesterday, even though it's been over 2 decades. Back in 2002, I was 23 with a certificate in welding, and I had just landed my first real job at this gritty shop in the industrial part of Michigan, Warren. The pay wasn't great, But it was enough to get me out of my parents' basement and into my own apartment. I was so proud. It felt like freedom, like I was finally adulting. And that's where I met Jake. He was this massive guy, probably 6'4" and built like a linebacker. He never talked much about his time in Corps. We worked the same shift, grinding away at metal frames for auto parts. And then, one day, after clocking out, his truck wouldn't start.
Yo, brother, you headed east? Mind giving a big dumb Marine a ride?
He grinned, breath fogging in the cold. I laughed. Hop in, big dumb Marine. That ride turned into every night. We'd blast Slipknot or Old Cash, stop at Kroger for a 12-pack, and then end up at his mom's little ranch house where Rita would have biscuits and gravy waiting like we were still growing boys. Rita was a saint. Cigarette rasp, bleach, blonde hair, and she'd shove a plate at you before you even got your coat off. "Eat, both of you. You're skin and bones," she'd say, even though Jake was built like a refrigerator. One night in March, Jake cracked his 4th beer and said,
Man, this commuting shit is killing me.
"Why don't I just crash at your place? Split rent 50-50. Save us both money." I didn't even think twice. Hell yeah! Move in tomorrow. Biggest mistake of my 20s. The first month was actually fun. We'd get home, shower off the slag and sweat, pound beers, and Jake would fire up his screamin' Dell and jump into Yahoo voice chants. Dude would argue with me about Halo 2 until 3 in the morning.
You're trash, man. I'd punch you in real life.
He'd scream into the headset, laughing like a maniac. I'd yell, "Tell him he'll piss on his motherboard," and we'd lose it. And then the switch flipped. He started calling in sick. I'd drag my ass to work alone and then come home to him passed out in his boxers, an empty case of Busch on the floor, and puke dried on the coffee table. One time I walked in and the living room smelled like a urinal cake exploded. "Jake, what the hell, man?" I kicked his foot. He lifted his head, eyes unfocused.
I don't know, brother. Must have spilled something.
There was a puddle of piss in the corner and a half-eaten Domino's face down on my couch. I almost threw up myself out the window. "You gotta get a handle on this. You're wrecking the place."
Oh, I got it. I got it.
He'd mumble, hungover and sorry. Next day, same shit, new case. It escalated fast. One night, he put his fist through the drywall because some teenager online called him a washed-up jarhead. Another night, I came home and he was screaming at the TV, swinging a golf club at shadows. "Jake, put the damn club down!" He turned, swaying, eyes black.
"You gonna make me, little man?"
Now, I'm 6'1", 210, but he had 4 inches and 70 pounds on me. I backed off. Slept with my door locked and a knife under the pillow after that. I told him flat out, "You've got till the end of the month to get out." He laughed in my face.
I pay half the rent, Try and evict me.
A couple weeks later, I came home from overtime, and the apartment door was kicked in. Cops. Turns out, Jake had gone to a bar on 8 Mile, got in a fight over a pool game, and cracked some dude's orbital with a cue stick. Felony assault. They hauled him off in cuffs while I stood there in my greasy coveralls, thanking God out loud. His mom, Rita, showed up the next day, crying, packing his shit in trash bags. "I'm so sorry, honey. I didn't know it was this bad." "It's okay, Miss Rita. Just get him out of my life." I thought that was the end. Until 3 a.m. 2 months later.
Open up! It's Jake! I got nowhere to go!
I looked through the peephole. He looked like a scarecrow that lost a fight with a lawnmower.
Get the hell away from my door before I call the cops again. Come on, man. One night. I'm sober, I swear.
I dialed 911. Cops came, dragged him off for violating the no contact order that the judge slapped on him. That was the last time I saw him in person. Well, fast forward 20 plus years. I'd done 2 hours in the sandbox with a defense contractor, married a German girl that I met in Stuttgart, had 3 kids, moved back to Michigan when her mom got sick. One night last fall, I'm doom-scrolling Facebook at 1 a.m. because jet lag still owns me, and his name pops up in People You May Know. Jake Harlan. Profile pic? Him in a polo shirt, arms crossed, smiling clean. Cover photo? Him accepting some certificate. I clicked. Bio said, 8 years sober, peer recovery coach, training to be a CADC. The hell? I sent a message. Big Jake? That you, man? He replied in like 30 seconds. Holy shit. Brother? How you living? We ended up on Messenger for 3 hours. Man, I owe you the biggest apology on planet Earth, he typed. I was a goddamn animal back then. I don't even remember half the shit I did to you, but I know I pissed in your corners, puked on your couch, threatened you. I'm ashamed. I laughed. Actually laughed. Yeah, you were a walking disaster, dude. Scared the shit out of me. Well, AA and jail saved my life. After that last arrest, I woke up dope sick in county, crying. Mom dragged me to a meeting. Been clean ever since. Now I work at the very same treatment center that pulled me out the gutter. I help guys that used to be me. Oh, that's badass, Jake. Proud of you, brother. Tried finding you years ago to make amends. Step 9, you know? Never could track you down. Well, you found me now. We talked about Rita. She passed in 2019. And those biscuits and gravy we used to scarf down. He sent me a picture of his new rescue pit bull named Biscuit. I sent him one of my kids holding fish up at Lake St. Clair. At the end, he wrote, "If you ever forgive me, I'd love to buy you a coffee sometime. If not, I get it. Just know I'm sorry from the bottom of my soul." I turned 30 in the middle of a heat wave in Austin. My coworker Jenna threw me a little party at her apartment on Riverside. Cheap tequila, a sheet cake from H-E-B, and one real gift that made me gasp. A bottle of Blanton's, the one with the little horse on top. It wasn't even wrapped right. She just slapped a red bow on it and said, "Happy birthday, bitch. Don't share it with anyone who doesn't deserve you." I carried that bottle home like it was made of glass eggs. My roommate, Caleb, was sprawled out on the couch in his boxers playing Call of Duty. He glanced up when I walked in. "Damn, somebody loves you," he said, eyeing the Blantons. "Yeah, don't get any ideas," I laughed. Setting it on the highest shelf in the kitchen, the one I have to stand on a chair to reach. "That is for special occasions only." He raised both hands. Scout's honor. 2 days later, I flew to Denver for my cousin's wedding. I was gone 4 nights. When I got back, Caleb was passed out on the couch with the TV still on. I went to the kitchen to make coffee and reached for the bottle, just to look at it, you know? It felt lighter. I unscrewed the cap. The color was wrong. Too pale. I took a sniff. I poured a splash into a glass. It looked like weak tea. "Caleb," I said, shaking his shoulder, "wake up." He groaned, rubbed his face. Ugh, what time is it? "Did you drink my birthday whiskey?" He blinked at me, confused, like I'd asked if he'd murdered someone.
What? No. Caleb, it's half gone and filled with water. Like a child. He sat up. I swear to God, Liv, I didn't touch it. You're the only other person here.
Maybe it evaporated? He tried to grin. I held up the bottle.
Evaporated into tap water?
He looked away.
I might have had a little. I don't remember. Things have been blurry. Half the bottle is not a little.
Well, I'll buy you another one, he mumbled.
With what? Your dad's savings?
That was mean, but I was shaking.
That bottle was the one nice thing anyone had done for me all year.
He didn't replace it.
Of course he didn't.
A month later, he got the DUI. Came home at 3 a.m.
Told me the cops took his license on the spot. His parents wired him money for a lawyer, but
the job that he'd had at the tech startup let him go the next week.
Budget cuts, they said.
We both knew it was the DUI. That's when the real drinking started. He'd wake up, crack a beer, play Xbox, pass out, repeat. Our apartment turned into a landfill of pizza boxes and empty handles of Evan Williams. I'd come home from work and find him on the balcony smoking, eyes red, telling me the world was rigged.
You don't get it, Liv,
he slurred one night.
I'm done. Completely done.
I was tired.
We're all done, Caleb. Put your half of rent in my account like a grown-up.
He nodded like he meant it. He didn't. I didn't notice for months. I was working 60-hour weeks at the marketing agency, trying to get promoted so I could finally move out. I paid my half of the rent on the first of every month like clockwork. I assumed he did too. Then the eviction notice came. It was taped to our door in a bright orange envelope. 3 months behind, $4,800 owed. Final notice before lockout. I stood in the hallway reading it 3 times, heart hammering so hard I thought I'd throw up. I called the leasing office. The woman was kind but firm. Both names are on the lease, ma'am. You're jointly and severally liable. I stormed inside. Caleb was on the couch, eyes glued to the TV. Did you know about this? I threw the notice at him. It fluttered onto his chest. He looked down, read the big red letters. That's your response?
Oh, I thought I paid October. Maybe?
You thought? Jesus Christ, Caleb!
I used the rent money for my car payment. I was gonna be homeless without a car, Liv. I was gonna catch up.
I wanted to kill him. I really did. Instead, I called his mom. Mrs. Dawson? It's Olivia, Caleb's roommate. I laid it all out. DUI, drinking, stolen rent money, eviction. She was quiet the whole time. And then she said, I'll wire the back rent today. I'm so sorry, honey. They paid it. All $4,800. The leasing office filed the eviction anyway because the process had already started. I begged. I cried in the manager's office like a lunatic. They gave me a letter stating that the balance was paid in full and we were never actually removed from the premises. It's the only thing that saved me from sleeping in my car. I moved out 2 weeks later, packed my stuff while Caleb sat on the balcony drinking the last of my watered-down Blanton straight from the bottle. He didn't help carry a single box. You hate me, he said. Not really a question. I don't have the energy to hate you. I just need to not see your face for a while. He nodded, took another pull. I believed the story. I just didn't believe he'd change. That was 2 years ago. Last month, I closed on a little house in East Austin. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. The mortgage guy raised an eyebrow at the eviction on my record. I slid the letter across his desk without saying a word. He read it, nodded, stamped everything approved. Needless to say, Caleb was my worst roommate ever. God. I remember that day like it was yesterday, even though it's been a couple of years now. It was one of those lazy summer mornings in our quiet suburb outside Chicago, where the biggest excitement was usually the ice cream truck rolling by in the afternoon. I was 20 at the time, working the afternoon shift at a local warehouse, hauling boxes and dreaming about something more. I'd just woken up around 10 a.m., my body still heavy from the late-night gaming session the night before. I was a big guy back then, 5'9" and pushing 300 pounds. The kind of frame that made people assume I was older or tougher than I really was. But inside, I was just a kid, shy around girls, especially the pretty ones. I'd never had much luck in that department. High school had been a blur of rejection and awkward crushes. I shuffled out of bed, grabbed the remote, and flopped back down to binge some Modern Family. The show's goofy humor was the perfect way to ease into the day. Phil Dunphy's antics always cracked me up. The house was empty. Dad was at work. Mom had errands to run, and my little sister was at summer camp. We lived in one of those old 2-story homes with creaky stairs and a back door that everyone used because the front one stuck half the time. It was peaceful, just me and the TV. About halfway through an episode, I heard the back door creak open. No big deal. Mom was probably back early from the grocery store. I didn't even pause the show. But then came the footsteps on the stairs, slow and deliberate, not like Mom's quick shuffle. I called out, "Mom? That you?" No answer. The hair on the back of my neck stood up a little, but I shrugged it off. Maybe she had her hands full. My bedroom door was ajar, and suddenly it pushed open wider. A head poked in, a woman's head, with long blonde hair cascading over one shoulder. She was stunning, like something out of a magazine. She froze when she saw me, her eyes widening in surprise. Is this the Thomas residence?" she asked, her voice smooth and a little breathless, like she'd been caught off guard. I blinked, my brain short-circuiting. Who the hell was this? No, I stammered, sitting up straighter on the bed. My room was a mess. Clothes on the floor, posters of video games on the walls. She giggled, a light, melodic sound that sent a weird thrill through me. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I must have the wrong house. My friend Rose lives around here, and I thought this was it. I'm such an idiot sometimes." She stepped fully into the room, closing the door behind her with a soft click. "You don't mind if I catch my breath for a sec? It's hot as hell out there." Now, I should have been weirded out, right? A stranger just walking into my house? But she was smiling at me, those eyes locking onto mine, and damn, she was gorgeous. No girl like that had ever looked at me twice, let alone talked to me. My heart was pounding. Sure, no problem. I'm Alex, by the way." "Hi, Alex. I'm Lisa," she replied, her smile widening as she sat down on the edge of the bed, close enough that I could smell her perfume. "What are you watching? Modern Family? I love this show. Claire's such a badass mom, don't you think? Always keeping everything together." "Yeah, totally," I agreed, trying to sound casual. "Phil's my favorite, though. The guy's a walking disaster, but in a good way." She laughed again, tossing her hair back. "Oh, I get that. Life's full of disasters, right? Like me barging in here. But hey, maybe it's fate or something." She shifted closer, her knee brushing against mine. "So, Alex, tell me about yourself. You live here with your family? You look like you could handle yourself, big guy like you." I felt my face heat up. Was she flirting? No way. But she was leaning in, her hand lightly touching my arm as she spoke. "Yeah, just me, Mom, Dad, and my sister. I'm working afternoons at a warehouse, saving up for college, maybe. Nothing exciting. Well, what about you? What do you do?" "Me? Oh, I'm a designer. Interior stuff mostly. I travel around, scoping out houses for inspiration." She glanced around my room, her eyes lingering on my gaming setup. "This place has potential. You ever think about redecorating? I could give you some tips." We talked like that for what felt like forever, but it was probably only 10 minutes. She asked about my hobbies. I rambled about video games and how I wanted to design my own someday. She nodded, hanging on every word. That's so cool, Alex. Most guys your age are just chasing parties. You're different. I was mesmerized, my mind racing with possibilities. Was this really happening? This pretty woman in my bed, interested in me? Tell me more. What's your dream girl like? Someone adventurous, maybe? Someone who knows what she wants? Yeah. Confident, funny, like you, I guess. She bit her lip, smiling. Flatterer. You know, Alex, you're cute when you're nervous. Makes me want to... Alex, whose car is that in the... Mom stopped dead, her eyes going from me to Lisa and back. Lisa jumped up like she'd been electrocuted, her face paling. Oh, shit, she muttered, grabbing her bag from the floor. I hadn't even noticed she'd set it down. Without another word, she bolted past Mom and down the stairs. I heard the back door slam. Mom stared at me, hands on her hips. What the hell was that? Who was she? I don't know. She just showed up, said she had the wrong house, and we started talking. Mom's face twisted in worry. Talking? In your bed? Alex, that's not normal. Did she take anything? I glanced around. Everything looked the same. No, I don't think so. She shook her head. You need to be more careful. Strangers don't just walk into houses like that. She paused, then added softer. You okay? She didn't do anything, did she? I'm fine, Mom. Really. But inside, I was reeling. Part embarrassed, part thrilled, part confused. That night, I replayed it all in my head. The way her touch felt, her laugh. It was the closest I'd ever come to something real with a woman. Well, a few days later, my Uncle Mike came over for a barbecue. He was a veteran cop from the city. The kind of guy with stories that could fill a book. Tough exterior, but a soft spot for family. We were sitting on the back porch, burgers sizzling on the grill, when Mom brought it up. Mike, you won't believe what happened to Alex the other day. Some woman just waltzed into the house. I rolled my eyes. Mom, it's not a big deal. Uncle Mike raised an eyebrow, setting down his beer. Well, tell me about it, kid. What'd she look like? I described her. Blonde, pretty, late 20s. Pretty. As I talked, his face hardened. Blonde, you say? About 5'6", blue eyes, charming as a snake. Yeah, how'd you know? He sighed, leaning back. Sounds like the blonde bandit we've been chasing. She's been hitting houses in the suburbs. Enters through unlocked doors, sweet talks whoever's home. Usually older guys living alone. Distracts them with flirtation, sometimes more, while she cases the place or lifts valuables. We've got reports from 3 towns over. One guy said she got him so worked up he didn't notice her swiping his watch and wallet until she was gone. My stomach dropped. Wait, what? She was robbing us? Probably scoping you out. Lucky your mom showed up. These types prey on loneliness. She's smart, picks targets where she can use her looks to her advantage. We've got a sketch that matches what you described. You see her car? License plate? I shook my head, feeling like a fool. No, I was distracted. He clapped me on the shoulder. Hey, don't beat yourself up. She's a pro. Manipulates men to thinking that they're the luckiest guy alive. But next time, lock the damn door and call the cops if something feels off. Mom chimed in, her voice firm. See, Alex, I told you, women like that, they're trouble. But I'm glad you're safe. I still don't know how to tell this story without sounding like the biggest idiot in Chicago, but here goes. Her name was Victoria, but she told me on the first date to call her Wiki, like the website, because Victoria sounds like a princess from a country that doesn't exist anymore. She had that dry Eastern European way of saying things that made you laugh, even when you weren't sure that if it was a joke. 25, born in Krakow. Moved to the States 4 years earlier on some work visa that kept getting extended. She still flew back to Poland every couple of months to remember who I am, she said. Dark hair, green eyes that looked like they had seen some and a little scar on her upper lip that she claimed was from a childhood sledding accident. I believed her. I believed a lot of things back then. We matched on Bumble in late May. First message from her was, "You look like you know how to grill meat. Prove me wrong." I sent back a picture of the ribeyes that I'd done the week before. She replied, "Good. I only date men who can feed me." I laughed out loud in my kitchen. First date was simple because I didn't want to scare her off. Walk around Humboldt Park, grab drinks at that tavern on North Avenue with the patio, and then walk some more once the sun went down. It was 95 degrees and humid as hell. We talked about everything. Her dad, who still lived in Poland and sent her passive-aggressive texts in all caps. My mom, who kept asking when I was going to settle down and stop wasting my good years. The fact that neither of us believed in astrology, but we both secretly checked our horoscopes when we were drunk. By 10 o'clock, we were sitting on a bench by the lagoon, fireflies doing their thing. She leaned over and said, "I don't usually do this, but you're not a psycho, right?" "Define psycho," I said. She laughed, grabbed my hand, and pulled me towards her apartment in Logan Square. Inside, she kicked off her sandals, poured us vodka from the freezer, no chaser, like civilized people, and put on some Polish reality show about rich kids in Warsaw. After 20 minutes, I leaned in. "Slow, I need slow." "Slow is good," I said, even though my heart was jackhammering. We watched 3 episodes, then 4. At 3 a.m., she yawned and said, "I'm going to bed. You can stay if you want." I blinked. On the couch? She rolled her eyes. "No, idiot. In the bed. I'm not kicking you out into the night like some movie." So I brushed my teeth with my finger and whatever toothpaste was on the sink, and then I walked into the room. She gave me this half smirk and said, "I sleep like this. You can too. Or you can be weird and keep everything on. Your choice." I was not weird. Hell no. She immediately grabbed my wrist. "Not yet," she said softly. "Just hold me." So I held her. We fell asleep like that. I woke up at 6 wondering what fresh hell I'd signed up for. That set the tone for the next 3 weeks. We saw each other almost every day. She'd text me at 2 p.m. "Come over. I made bigos and I'm bored." And I'd drop whatever I was doing. We'd cook, drink wine, dance in her kitchen to some band called Madame I'd never heard of, and then crawl into bed and just cuddle. Once she said, "In Poland, we don't smash on the 3rd date like you animals." I laughed because by then it was like the 15th date. My friends started roasting me alive. "Dude, she's using you as a room heater," my buddy Ryan said over wings. "She's got a husband back in Krakow," said Matt. "You're the American side piece." I defended her every time. She's just traditional. Guilt or whatever. But privately, I was losing my mind. Week 2, we drove up to Wisconsin to go tubing on the Apple River. Just us, a cooler of White Claw, and 6 hours of sun. On the ride back, I finally snapped. "Wiki, talk to me. What is this? Because I'm going crazy here." She stared out the window. "What do you mean?" "Every night we're in bed together and you won't let me touch you. You say physical touch is your love language, but you flinch when I try anything. I like you a lot, but I didn't sign up for such sleepovers." She was quiet for a long time. Then,
I really like you. I'm just scared. I've been hurt before. Can you be patient?
I said yes.
Of course I said yes. She reached over and held my hand the rest of the drive.
That night, she sent me a text.
I'm sorry I push you away. I want you. I just need to go at my speed.
I stared at the message until the screen went black. Nothing changed after that. By week 4, the red flags weren't flags anymore. They were like air raid sirens. There was the time that she told me that her mom was a controlling because she wouldn't co-sign another car loan. The time she laughed about getting pulled over for DUI, but the cop was cute, so he let me go. The stack of unpaid parking tickets on her dresser like confetti. The way that she'd trash talk her best friend 1 minute and then call her my soul sister the next. The final straw was the phone incident. She texted me Saturday morning. Want to go out tonight? Dancing? I miss your face. I made reservations at a taco place she liked. Planned to take her to Late Bar where they play all 80s new wave. I was actually excited. Like, maybe we were turning a corner. I got to her apartment at 7. She was pacing, screaming into her iPhone in Polish. I caught the words, Mama, and a lot of kurwa. When she hung up, she threw the phone on the couch. My mother kicked me off the family plan because I'm irresponsible. Can you believe this? What happened? I was late on 1 payment. 1! She's punishing me. Well, she decided that we'd go to the T-Mobile store in person to port her number. On the way there, she explained that her mom had given her 24-hour access to the account to transfer the line. While she had access, Wiki deleted her mom's ex-boyfriend's number off the plan because he's a piece of and she shouldn't still be paying for him. Her mom found out immediately. The text came through while Wiki was showing me something on Marketplace. I trusted you. You, Victoria, never again! Wiki read it out loud and laughed. She's so dramatic. I felt my stomach drop. At the store, the guy behind the counter was patient, but Wiki had already deleted her eSIM in a fit of spite, so the phone was basically bricked for porting. He offered a temporary fix for $25. She lost it. $25 for this? You people are thieves! Ma'am, I don't set the prices. You are a stupid clown! She screamed and stormed out, slamming the glass door so hard the whole wall shook. I stood there apologizing to the poor guy and then walked out. She was sitting on the curb smoking a cigarette that she had bummed off of a stranger. I want to go home, she said. I drove her back in silence. When I pulled up to her building, she turned to me. I'm sorry you had to see that. I just get so angry sometimes. Yeah, I noticed. She leaned over like she was going to kiss me goodbye. I didn't lean in. She got out. That night I texted her. Hey, I think we're looking for different things. I wish you the best, seriously. Take care of yourself. She called immediately. I let it go to voicemail. 3 more calls, and then a string of texts. You're abandoning me, like everyone else. I knew you were too good to be true. F*** you for making me feel safe. I blocked her number, deleted Bumble, and drank half a bottle of Jameson on my couch while Total Eclipse of the Heart played on repeat. My friends showed up with pizza and didn't say, I told you so, even once. Which was bro code for, we love you, dumbass. I was an influencer. It was the job I always dreamed of, but I had no idea how difficult it would be. Being an influencer is way more work than people realize, especially since the persona I created for myself was almost completely fake. I acted like I was fabulously wealthy, but in reality, I was a 25-year-old who still lived with my parents. And my parents, for the record, didn't have a lot of money themselves. At first, I faked my videos completely, pretending I was on island vacations when I was really filming in my backyard. Over time, I started getting brand sponsorships, so my videos became a little more legit. I had actual products that I could try on camera. Still, it was a full-time job, and there were days when I wished that I had just gone to college like my parents wanted. Last summer, I was in a pretty dark place. My follower count was flatlining, and another influencer that I collabed with ended up getting arrested. Long story, but he's a creep, and the scandal reflected badly on me just by association. I was really starting to think about quitting the internet completely and getting some random waitress job or something. At the very least, I needed to slow down a little. So, one day, I did a live stream announcing that I was going to be taking a wellness day at home. I usually did at least 3 videos a day, but I told my followers that they wouldn't be hearing from me until the next morning. Then, I switched off my phone and I locked it in my parents' upstairs safe just so I didn't have the temptation. Then, I washed off my makeup, got into my pajamas, and tried to enjoy the day without thinking about my online brand. Now, for the next hour, everything was wonderful. I watched TV, relaxed on the couch, and ignored all my worries. I realized that this was the only way to continue my influencer career. I couldn't be camera ready 24/7 anymore. I needed vacation days like these to recharge my battery. I was watching TV on the couch when I heard footsteps behind me. At first, I thought that my parents had gotten back from their vacation. "Hey, I thought you weren't supposed to get back until the weekend." When they didn't answer, I got scared. Somehow, I knew that the person behind me was a stranger. Before I could turn around, I felt someone's hand clamp down on my shoulder. "Don't scream." I jumped off the couch and spun around. The man was young and weirdly handsome, with a long scar across his forehead and a rope in his big hands. What do you want?" "Your money." I tried to explain that I didn't have any money, but he didn't believe me. He'd watched all my videos. He'd seen the expensive clothes I had pretended to buy and the luxury vacations I faked in the backyard. He believed all the lies that I'd been telling my followers, and no matter what I said, I couldn't convince him that it was all fake. He pretended to listen, but when it was clear that I wasn't going to tell him what he wanted to hear, he grabbed my wrists and tied them together with a zip tie. He moved so fast that I didn't have the chance to push him away. "Show me where you're hiding everything. Start with all your jewelry." Okay, I'll do what you want." I pretended to go along with his demands. He let me stand up and lead him to my bedroom. I decided to show him my jewelry drawer. I had a ton of fake stuff in there, and if he thought that all my necklaces and rings were real on my videos, well, then he might think they're real now. I opened the drawer, but up close he instantly knew that everything I owned was fake. "Where's the real stuff, like in your videos?" I knew that I couldn't trick him, so I tried to make a run for it. With my hands tied, I couldn't fight back, and with my phone locked in my parents' safe, I couldn't call the police. So I raced across the house before he could grab me. I made it to the front door with plenty of time to escape, but I couldn't open it. The door was deadbolted, and I needed both hands to open the lock. With the zip tie limiting my movements, I was trapped. I saw my neighbor through the front window. He was walking his dog just 20 feet away. I screamed. He didn't hear me. I kicked the door. He didn't hear that either. And then he was gone. The robber stood behind me now. He gently placed his hand on my shoulder. He didn't have to be violent with me. He knew that I was trapped. "I'll untie you and leave as soon as you cooperate." "Seriously, I don't have anything. Look around you. Does this look like the house of a rich influencer?" I think he finally believed me. His expression went from patience to disappointment. And then he got angry. He punched me in the stomach, hard enough for me to double over. Liar! I couldn't argue with him. I was a liar. My entire career was built on lies. But that didn't mean that I deserved this kind of treatment. I tried to think of anything that I could give him. Anything valuable. Then I remembered my parents' set of silverware. They inherited it from my grandma. It had to be worth something. I asked him to follow me into the kitchen. He did. I nodded towards the cabinet where he kept the silverware. He opened it and he started rifling around. Now that he was facing the other direction, I looked around for something that I could use to attack him. There were knives on the counter, but he'd hear me if I grabbed one, and I didn't want to stab him. I just needed something heavy to knock him out. The toaster was too big. The mixer was still plugged in. He started to turn around. I was losing my chance. Without thinking, I grabbed some appliance that was attached to the wall and I slammed it against his head. One hit and he toppled to the ground. He was woozy, but still conscious. I didn't know what to do next. If only I hadn't locked away my phone. And then I looked down at my hands and I realized what I was holding. The house phone. I literally never used it before. I completely forgot that it existed. Did it even work anymore? Yeah, it did. I dialed 911 before the man could get to his feet. He ran off before the police arrived. When they got here, they untied my hands and they checked if I had any injuries. I still don't know who that man was, and I'm honestly not worried about it. He won't come back. There are other richer people that he can rob. Once the police left, I decided to give up on being an influencer. It was way too much trouble than it was worth. I made a video confessing to all the lies and telling everyone about the attempted robbery. I thought that would be my final video, until it went viral. I'm still an influencer, but now I'm more popular than ever. And I'm totally honest with my followers. I remember the summer I backpacked through Europe alone. Berlin was my third stop, and I chose this cheap but nice hostel in Kreuzberg because it promised vibrant communal vibes. My room was a mixed dorm with 4 bunks, but I spent most of my time in the common area. That's where I first noticed him. He was in his late 20s, maybe, with a gaunt face framed by greasy black hair and a beard that looked like it hadn't seen a trim in months. He always claimed the same armchair by the window, knees pulled up, rocking slightly as he muttered prayers. His eyes, dark, unblinking, locked onto me the second I walked in. At first, I brushed it off. "Hey, you're new here?" A bubbly Australian girl named Mia asked me that first evening, offering me a donut. "Yeah, just got in from Prague," I replied, glancing over at him. He didn't move, just stared, his lips moving silently. "That guy's been here forever," Mia whispered, rolling her eyes. "Creepy as hell, right? Prays all day, disappears at night. I think he's harmless, though." Harmless? By day 2, I wasn't so sure. I'd wake up to find him already there, eyes following me as I made breakfast. "What is your problem?" I muttered under my breath once, but he didn't flinch. Instead, he leaned forward, whispering something, like a curse. I tried ignoring him, chatting with other guests to drown it out. "So, where are you from?" A cute French guy named Luke asked during a group game of cards. "Chicago," I said, forcing a smile. "You?" But even as Luke flirted, the Windy City, I must visit for the deep dish pizza," I felt those eyes boring into my back. The mutterings grew louder when I laughed, like he was judging me, or worse, fantasizing. Night 3 was when it escalated. I couldn't sleep, the bunk creaking above me from some snoring Brit. Around 2 a.m., I heard the front door click. Peeking out, I saw him slip into the darkness. "Where do you think he goes?" I asked Mia the next morning as we sipped coffee. She shrugged. "Probably some shady shit, who knows. But girl, don't let it ruin your trip. Berlin's amazing. Go see the wall today." I tried. I wandered the streets, snapped photos of graffiti, but back at the hostel, there he was again.
His stares followed me to the bathroom, the kitchen, even when I paced the lounge talking on my phone to my mom back home. "Mom, this guy's freaking me out," I confessed in a hushed voice. "He just watches all the time." She paused. "Honey, trust your gut. Get out if it feels wrong." I stared back that day, openly challenging him. "What? You got something to say?" I snapped, loud enough for the room to hear. But he just smiled, a thin, predatory grin, and kept muttering something I couldn't understand. It chilled me. That night, alone in my bunk, I imagined the worst. Him sneaking in, his hands on me, that beard scratching my skin. Ugh. My heart pounded. I barely slept, clutching my pepper spray under the pillow. By day 4, I was done. I found a women-only hostel in Mitte. Cleaner, friendlier, with sane people. For the first time in days, I breathed easy. Looking back, it taught me something and made me stronger. Berlin, yeah, it stared me down. But I stared right back and won. The silence in my house usually felt peaceful, but that night it felt like holding my breath underwater. I lived in a sprawling ranch-style place at the end of a cul-de-sac. Great for privacy, terrible for when things went sideways. I had listed an old 55-inch plasma TV on Craigslist. It was a relic, heavy as a tombstone, and I just wanted it gone to make room for a sleek new OLED. The ad was simple. Free to a good home. U-Haul. I got a bite from a woman named Carla. Her texts were polite, bordering on overly eager. We set a time for 6 p.m. I moved the beast of a TV into the living room, wiped the screen down, and waited. 6 p.m. came and went. By 7:30, I was annoyed. By 8 o'clock, I had written her off and cracked a beer, sinking into the sofa to watch the news. Then my phone buzzed. Carla. "I am so sorry. Work ran crazy late. Can I still come?" I looked at the time. It was nearly 10 p.m. My gut said no. My gut said, tell her to kick rocks and repost it tomorrow. But the logical, impatient part of my brain just wanted the clutter out of my house. Me. "It's pretty late. Can you be here in 10 minutes? Carla. "Yes, leaving now. GPS says 10 minutes. I sighed, draining the last of my beer. All right, I muttered to the empty room. 10 minutes. 20 minutes bled by. Me. "You coming? I'm about to head to bed." Carla. "Traffic was bad. 10 more minutes. Promise." I paced the kitchen. It was 10:45 p.m. Who picks up a used TV at nearly 11 at night? At 11 p.m., I'd had enough. I grabbed my phone, thumbs flying. Me. "Look, let's just do this tomorrow or forget it. It's too late." 3 dots rippled on the screen immediately. Carla. "Just pulling up. Don't close the door." I walked to the front window and peered through the blinds. Headlights swept across my front lawn, blindingly bright, cutting through the pitch black of the cul-de-sac. I unlocked the front door and stepped onto the porch, leaving the storm door latched. The car's engine cut out, but the headlight stayed on, blinding me. The driver's door opened. A woman stepped out. "David?" she called out. "Yeah, TV's just inside the entry. It's heavy, though." Great, she said, walking toward the porch. Then, the passenger door opened. My stomach dropped. A man climbed out. He was big, tall, muscular. He didn't look at me. He looked at the house. Then the back door opened. Another guy. This one was skinnier, twitchy, smoking a cigarette that glowed angry red in the dark. "Whoa, hold on." The woman reached the steps. The 2 men flanked her, lingering back near the bumper of the car. It felt tactical. It felt practiced. "What's going on?" I asked. "We're here for the unit," Carla said, smiling. It wasn't a nice smile. It was tight, showing too many teeth.
You didn't say you were bringing a moving crew. I told you only you come in.
They're just here to help lift it. And we want to see the entertainment center, too.
I froze. The what?
The entertainment center. The ad said TV and stand.
No, it didn't. Just the TV. And I'm not letting 3 people into my house at 11 o'clock at night. The skinny guy flicked his cigarette butt onto my driveway. A spark shower erupted and died.
We drove 40 minutes, man. We just want to see the gear.
The deal was for the TV, I told her, looking only at Carla. And the deal was you. If you want it, you come in alone. They stay in the car. She crossed her arms, her demeanor shifting instantly from apologetic to hostile.
I can't lift it alone. I need at least one other person's opinion on the condition.
Opinion? It's free. It turns on. That's the condition. Take it or leave it.
You're being unreasonable.
She took a step up the porch. I instinctively checked the lock on the storm door. It was engaged. I'm being safe. I live alone. I don't know you. You show up 2 hours late with 2 random dudes? No way. Deal's off. The big guy took a step forward. He wasn't looking at the TV anymore. He was looking at the windows, scanning the perimeter of the house.
Come on, David. We just need to check it out. Don't be an ass.
I asked you to leave, I said, my heart hammering against my ribs. Now. She stared at me, her eyes hard.
Wow,
she said, shaking her head with exaggerated disappointment.
That is not being a very good American, is it? Turning away people in need.
The absurdity of it almost made me laugh. I'm fine with that. Get off my property.
You serious?
The skinny guy yelled from the driveway.
We came all this way!
I'm calling the cops in 30 seconds, I said, keeping my voice level, though my hands were shaking. Get in the car. Carla glared at me, muttering something under her breath that sounded like prick, then spun around. Let's go, she yelled to the guys. I didn't wait for them to move. I stepped back inside, slammed the main door, and threw the deadbolt. I locked the handle, and then I engaged the chain. My heart was racing like a trapped bird. I ran to the kitchen, grabbed a knife. Useless, I knew, but it felt better than nothing, and killed the porch light so that they couldn't see inside. I crept to the side of the window, peeling back the edge of the blind just an inch. They hadn't left. They were standing by the car, arguing. The skinny guy was gesturing wildly at the house. Carla was on her phone, typing furiously. Then, the big guy walked over to the edge of my driveway, right near where my mailbox stood. He looked directly at the house, unzipped his pants, and started pissing right onto the pavement. He just stood there, relieving himself, staring at my dark window like he knew exactly where I was standing. Unbelievable, I whispered. After he finished, he shook himself off, zipped up, and lumbered back to the car. They all piled in. The engine roared to life, and they reversed aggressively, tires screeching against the asphalt. They peeled out of the cul-de-sac, taillights disappearing into the night. I stood there for a long time, watching the empty street. I checked every window in the house. I checked the back door. I checked the garage. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room with the lights off, watching the driveway, the old plasma TV sitting dark and heavy in the corner. It wasn't just a flaky buyer. It was a casing. They wanted inside. They wanted to see the layout, see what else I had, see if I really was alone. The next morning, I dragged the TV to the curb with a free sign taped to the glass. It was gone in an hour.